Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Peace Compassing Your Providence podcast. I'm your host, Paris Coleman, and thank you for joining us today on the PCP. Here on the PCP, we dive into the various ways where everyday individuals can find the peace within their lives and allow that peace to compass them to their Providence state, their God state, their godly state. We'll dive into many various situations and experiences on this podcast. So I welcome you. I challenge you to accept the various ways of life and peace and allow those various ways to possibly come into your life to compass your providence. So sit back, open your mind, and get ready to allow your peace to compass your providence. Welcome back to PCP, Peace Compassing Providence, where I am your host, Paris Coleman. And as promised on our first episode, I'm excited. I'm so excited. This is my loved one, my brother. You know what I'm saying? He was my little brother, but he was always my big brother. You know what I'm talking about? Gabe Jackson. You understand? Like I said, an entrepreneur always, in my opinion, but just an overall great man. And Gabe, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity, man. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's always good to see you.
Always.
Hey, we just had a good lunch. We just talked for like an hour and a half before we got on here.
Yep.
You know, about some peace compassing Providence type of things.
Yep.
And again, on the Peace Compassing Providence podcast, we are delving and diving, deep water diving, into the various points of peace that we all have, that we're all searching for, which compass us to our providence, Our providence state, our God state. That is no dis-ease, no discomfort, but is walking in all what? Love, knowingness, and bliss. So let's just sit back. Remember, connect our hearts to our brains and just go ahead and listen. And matter of fact, give my cousin Gabe a round of applause. Yeah, I'm proud of you, baby. I'm proud of you. Let the world know I'm proud of you. You understand what I'm talking about?
I appreciate it, man. You're going to have me crying on here, man.
Hey. Don't worry about that. Hey, just really quickly, Gabe, tell us about yourself a bit.
Man, born and raised in Sacramento, California. That's definitely our connection. You know, our fathers knew each other since high school. I know my dad knew both your parents.
That's right.
You know, since they were kids.
Yeah, your dad knew my mom first.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So born in Sacramento, you know, my parents come from a law enforcement background, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, my parents, those of you that don't know, there's a police academy. There's, you know, a correctional officer academy. And that's where my parents met. My parents met at the Department of Corrections Academy.
I didn't know that.
Which is in Galt, California, just outside of Sacramento. And, you know, my mom is from L.A. And both my parents, they were what we would, I have a background in education, and both my parents would be what we would consider today at-risk youth. They both come from single-parent backgrounds, you know, no fathers in the home, not a lot of male role models, you know, but they're both, you know, just had a burning desire to do right, man, and to make it, and that's kind of what I come from. And so my parents met at the Corrections Academy. They both ended up working at Folsom Prison. And my mom branched off into the parole division. And so in the late 80s, we know what was going on, right? Where we were growing up, it was kind of going downhill. And so my mom's worst fear, you know, you could picture this in a movie, right? Like a parole officer, you know, is kind of living where her clients are living. And she didn't want us to be a vendetta. And so that was why we moved at the time, was so far out of the way. So we were kind of like,
wow, I did not know
you
that.
know, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know, we moved to the suburbs, and you know, it was kind of a cultural shock, right? You know, in early 1990s, it's flat tops and Mike Tyson parts, it's cross colors, it's overalls. it's Air Jordans, it's all of that is going on, you know. So we were kind of the only chip in the cookie. Not a diverse area, but you know, I know I'm kind of going all over the place. But
nah, you're all right.
You know,
I like to say that you was putting a little paint where it ain't.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Put a little paint where it ain't. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. No, we, you know, I've got, you know, three brothers, 2 sisters. I'm kind of smack dab in the middle. You know, just a lot going on in the family, and you know, I'm gonna stop right there because I know I don't want to go too deep.
All good, all good, brother. All good. I just as you were saying that, I was recalling all the times I was able to come to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's house and watch SmackDown, WWF, WWE, all the Royal Rumbles at the crib, and just, you know, enjoying ourselves.
No doubt.
In a new environment because we had already enjoyed ourselves in the old environment.
Absolutely.
And we just took those things of the beauty from where we were at, right, where you were at, into a new environment.
Absolutely.
And what they say, throwing a little paint where it ain't.
Throw a little
you know
paint
what I'm
where
talking
it
about?
ain't.
Because we didn't grow in no decrepit area.
Not at all.
Although one seems to say that ghetto is a bad word or it's a negative connotation. I never grew up in the ghetto. I grew up in a neighborhood, right? You grew up in a neighborhood of enriched, the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Glen Ellis, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Cornell
West, you know what I'm saying?
Darnell Hillman.
Yeah. We're talking about Gloria and Leroy Peters, you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Predecessors.
Absolutely.
Patriarchs, right?
Absolutely.
But just, you know, putting a little paint where it ain't. And we appreciate you doing that.
We grew up around a lot of love. A lot of love.
Love.
And that was that. If I could say anything, we grew up around nothing but love.
Right. Okay, all right. So I appreciate that. Can you briefly tell us about your after high school, or even if you want high school, your education journey?
Absolutely.
And briefly talk to us about that.
Absolutely. Well, I gotta. You know, you may or may not know this, but you know, Paris is a couple years older than me. You know, I always looked to Paris and his peers. We always wanted to be like them, you know, and you know, Paris was a star athlete. I mean, any ball he touched, he would be the best player on that field, and you know, that was something I always aspired to do, something I always aspired to be, and I just want to let you know that. Like,
hey, I appreciate
I hold you in the highest regard. I'm talking about the absolute highest regard, and so you need to know that. And so, part of my aspirations to play college sports is definitely linked to your aspirations to play college sports, because as I was getting into high school, you know, I was a freshman, you were a senior. So I was watching your path and really wanted to follow suit. And so I went to Folsom High School at a time before it was cool to go to Folsom High School.
That's right.
It was more of a cow town. When I was there, now it's definitely a football power, almost definitely a state power in football. It's kind of flirting with being a national power.
Booming.
It's a great place to be, you know, and it was always a great place to be, but it was just kind of a best kept secret when we were coming up. And you know, I played 3 sports in high school. I did football, played basketball, and I participated in track. I was more of a thrower than a sprinter, but I did try to sprint with the sprinters to get faster for football, right? I mean, if anybody had a brain, that's what they were doing back in the day. And so I walked on. I didn't get any scholarship offers coming out of high school. I walked on to play football at Utah State. I was there 2 years. I redshirted my first year, rode the bench my second year. And that was kind of a risk because I ended up leaving Utah State. The coaches that brought me up got fired. And I felt like I was in good standing to get a scholarship with those coaches. Well, they left. So now I'm starting from ground zero with new coaches. Didn't feel like I wanted to do that. Came home, went to a junior college. I was what you would call a 4-2-4 transfer. Going from a 4-year school to a 2-year school, going back to a 4-year school. And so I transferred into a junior college as a junior, came back to California, had all these, I went to school in Utah, so the state of Utah had different requirements than the state of California. And when you come to California, they have the California JC requirements, they have the state college requirements, and they have the UC requirements. So I had all these different things to fulfill in a summer, in a fall, and a spring semester. So I had a great year. When I came back, I went to Yuba College out in the Marysville area in a town called Linda. And I had a great year there. Took a a math class at Sierra College, and then finished up at Humboldt State, which at the time was a Division II school on the north coast of California. But Humboldt has since dropped football. They no longer have a football program, so that's kind of a sad story. But
that's unfortunate.
Football is a big budget, and it costs a lot of money to maintain and do. So they ended up having to axe that from the budget. But
you got your paper from that.
Absolutely. I got a degree, 4-year degree in journalism. Came back, wanted to teach, and got into teaching. Let me rewind a little bit. I trained with a coach before I went to Utah State, and every break, spring break, summer break, winter break, I would come home and train with Coach. Coach had a gym out of his garage, so I would come home, get down in the garage, and upon graduating from Humboldt State, because I was going to pursue a graduate degree and go be a graduate assistant and go try to be a college strength coach.
Wow,
that was the path.
Yeah,
and so
I remember that.
Yeah, so going into spring ball. So that's the spring of my junior year going into my senior year, I ended up breaking a bone in my foot. I fractured my 5th metatarsal, the weight-bearing portion. If you remember, Mike Bibby had that same injury for the Kings back in the day. And so I was on crutches from late April to early July. And I was I was thinking I was going to have this great senior year. I might have an opportunity to do something professionally, and it just never materialized. So I came home back to the gym, and Coach Vince would pick me up every day, and I would just kind of, do my workout and kind of bark at the kids and the people that he had training out of the garage at the time. And so what I watched his gym business evolve from the single car side of his 3-car garage to his entire garage. And he had people coming in every half hour, and he was training them. And so upon graduation, he offered me a job. And so I did that while I was pursuing my teaching credential and a graduate degree. So I have a master's degree in cross-cultural teaching from National University, and I was in education for 15 years.
I got to clap it up for my cousin on that, for anybody on that one, okay? I'm very proud of you.
Appreciate it.
You know that. I'm very proud of you. And as you looked up to my peers and myself in regards to sports, I now look up to you in your journey in education. So you should know that, right? So we both have moments, right?
Yeah.
And so I find it really interesting just listening to you. And of course, I know this, but I need the public to know this. I find it interesting that, you talked about going to a 4-year at first, having not the success that you wanted, having to come back to a 2-year, going out to a 4-year, right? On the verge of seeing your dreams materialize, and then the physical breaks down.
Yep.
But you still graduated with your paper.
Absolutely.
And you continue to go not quite on your specific original path, but just a bit skewed. And you continue to work at that, continue to have the vision of that, to where your coach hires you on inside of his gym, right? And so if we can just pause there for a minute, I'd like to know, what did you feel when, initially, and what did you feel initially when your what was your bone that broke?
My 5th metatarsal.
Your 5th metatarsal gave out on you after going to the 4-year, having to come back, going through the 2-year, and then getting to the 4-year to almost be on the cusp of your dream. What did you feel about that, quickly, if you could?
Yeah.
And then tell us something about how you even felt that you could do that after going to that 4-year, no thank you, having to come back to your start.
Yep.
And then getting out again and being right there on the cusp, and then having to come back again. How are you able to do that? First of all, what did you feel about that? I know it's a long 2-part question.
Yeah.
And then Where did you find the strength to do that?
So specifically to the foot injury, initially it was anger. Rewinding just a little bit, after the first day I went in college, you have the training room. I went to the trainer. I said, "Hey, man, my foot is killing me. Like, what can we do?" And I got and our trainer at Humboldt, believe it or not, he used to work for the Tennessee Titans at one time.
What's his name?
His name was Mike Anderson.
Mike Anderson
was his name, and so Mike was awesome. He was great. Mike Anderson, and he was just a phenomenal human being. He literally, I mean, he seriously, you could feel that he cared about all the student athletes and really took interest in them. And so
awesome.
He had me sit on the table. He grabbed my foot and he was like, "How does this feel? How does this feel? How does this feel?" And then he knew where it was. He could pinpoint where it was, and he would kind of separate it. He knew what it was. He basically gave me my options. And as an athlete, we love our options, and we kind of love playing percentages. He's like, "Well, you could either, it's only spring ball. You could just sit out spring ball and, just see you in the fall, let it heal." He's like, "Or we could tape it up and let it, and just, you could tough it out." So you know how we do it, tape it up. Let's go.
Spat me up.
We warriors out here.
Can you spat me up, please?
Out here. So we taped it up, man, and I was playing at a really high level, and I mean, I could close my eyes and I can remember the play. They ran a sprint out towards me. A guard came out. I hit the guard in the mouth, and he stepped on my foot, and it was just like, oh my God, I already knew what it was. I literally crawled off the field. I knew what it was.
You crawled off the field.
I crawled off the field because I couldn't walk. I tried to stood up and I just collapsed. Crawled off the field and I got help to the locker room, and just anger and disgust. Second guessing myself, wondering like, man, I could have avoided this. But a theme that continues to reoccur and replay itself in my life is betting on myself. I bet that I could overcome that and get through spring ball without having that injury take place. So that was, I for sure was trying to bet on myself. But initially anger and then pity. Humboldt State, it's HSU, but it also stands for Hills and Steps University.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of hills and a lot of steps, and it's not an easy place to navigate. So I couldn't walk. So I was crutching around that joint. I got to learn all about all the disability services, and I was a senior, I was a junior, and it was a very important time of year. I mean, it was towards the end of my junior year, so I was taking a heavy academic coursework. So it was very difficult.
So you had to get to class on time.
I had to get to class on time.
Every time.
And so it's just a difficult place to navigate, and some of the services, they weren't always timely. And a lot of the disability services weren't always timely. And so it was just difficult to navigate, and it was just a tough part. And it happened towards the end of the school year, and trying to get home with a broken foot. I mean, I couldn't do anything. They gave me a boot, and my foot had swollen up. My foot looked like a giant ham hock. I mean, it was just a difficult time, man. And it was just tough.
So how did you get through not only that time, but the times previous when you had to come back home? Like what inside of you, what was instilled in you, or if anything, or is it just self-deriving? What got you through the first, second, and final stage of college football?
Yeah.
Right?
So initially, as the first stage of college football, I was prepared by one of the best coaches one could ever have, and his name was Vince Minnie. So I was prepared mentally and physically to go to play college football at the Division I level. I resonated with his story. Vince is from back east, New Jersey. He played his college football at Temple, and this is early '80s. He was an undersized defensive lineman. Probably should have been a linebacker, but he played D-line, right? So he understood what I was embarking upon, and so he got me prepared for that. To go to Utah State, to come back to a junior college, I felt like I was almost overtrained. Having seen what it took to be a Division I player, feeling like I was capable of competing at that level, and then to come back to a junior college, I knew how to prepare. I understood the rigors academically. I knew what it took to be successful. So I took what I learned at Utah State and applied it to Yuba College. So the same regimen that we had at Utah State, I kept the same regimen at Yuba.
Got it. Now, were you staying in the dorms at the time, or were you staying at home?
At Yuba, I was staying at Yuba. They had a HUD housing that we stayed in, so we paid $1 a month, and Coach would pack us all in this apartment. And,
Got it.
And so we stayed at this apartment, and we would commute to school. You got to school if you had to walk to school, catch a ride, catch a bus.
So you came back, but you didn't quite come all the way back to your old room.
I did not. Go
Obviously,
back home.
you had your relationship with your family, your beautiful family. Tell us a bit about that at that time for you.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So that was a time. At that time, I'm like I said, I'm kind of the middle child, so I have older siblings, so they're getting into their careers and doing their thing, and I also had 2 younger siblings. So my younger brother was kind of transitioning from middle school to high school, and my younger brother was at Fresno State.
That's right.
And so, it was a difficult time, right? Because now you're not kids anymore. You got a house full of grown-ups, but you're all brothers. So, you got the sibling rivalry, and sometimes we get along, sometimes we don't. Yeah. So we're going through all the things, and then family, they can poke at you and say hurtful things. Well, you couldn't make it at such and such. So, you go through some of that, but again, growing up in love, sometimes people say stuff just to get under your skin. Yeah. And that's what we do. It happens. Yeah. But if something goes down, I know who's there for me too.
That's love.
So it was a great time. It was we're talking this time coming back from Utah State. This is 2000. Yeah. So we're talking late 90s to 2000, and then finishing up in Humboldt. I felt like I knew what I was getting into. I'd been there before. Again, I felt like Utah State prepared me very, very well. Just understanding the rigor, the work ethic, what it takes to be successful, and applying that to Humboldt was definitely, some of the stuff that I applied helped contribute to me being successful. Yeah,
that I can see that how you deduce that. I also can see like where your drive could have come from, right? When you spoke to both your mother and your father and their backgrounds and them wanting to just create better than probably what they had. Absolutely. But in the sense that, your mother, perfectly fine where we're at, but the work that she does, it could bring vengeance or retaliation upon their loved ones, right? And so, I'm pretty sure you just don't get osmosis by that, right? Something happens that says, hey, put you down in that lake, right? Yep. And you have to have the courage to either fight or flee, or say, let me think about, let me confer, right? Or console. What is the best move? Growth? Bam. Are they going to be accepted in this area, which was not known for having a little paint where it ain't, right? Are my kids, they're going to get it from both sides. Yep. But she went with growth. Your father went with growth. And I felt like that was like a predecessor to what you just told us. Yeah. To your journey, your own journey. And, just quickly, going back home, right? Gabe was always the big brother to his 2 younger brothers. I'm not going to mention you, but y'all know I love you. You know what I'm saying? And your older sister, I love you. Huh? But always was a big brother. And I knew whenever I was around, I never had no little brother, you know what I'm saying? But he was always my little brother because I respected him because he's always big, you know what I'm saying? So how's he look? It's interesting. This guy's interesting. I love him. And then, he always did that back. And so I felt a responsibility to show you good steps. Good steps, huh? Good steps. Ownership. Because somebody else is watching my steps. You understand? Yeah. With love. And so my steps need to be in beauty and love too. Yep. And so he always did that. So I know that was tough. Yeah. And I know it was tough for them looking at you because they always like, oh, they'll drop a hot water balloon on somebody's head if they mess with you. I love you, baby. I still love you. hey, but I just find that so interesting, so interwoven, and such is life. And, that loving, that knowingness of that makes it even more blissful to be able to sit here and talk to you about where you're at now, right? And your family that you're leading now. Even still with being an entrepreneur, with the ups and downs of owning your own business that we'll get into shortly here. But still taking that and saying, hey, we're going to continue to go. Hey, we're going to continue to go.
Yep.
You know? So great segue. Hey, right? Tell us a bit about your new ventures. Tell a bit about your entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
After education.
Absolutely. So I relate my entrepreneurship journey to underground hip hop, man.
Ooh.
We started, Coach Vince, when I came back, when I graduated, I graduated on a Saturday. I drove home on Sunday. I was at the gym on Monday. Now, Vince was a correctional counselor at Folsom State Prison. And so he ran his gym business before work and after work. And so I was kind of his co-pilot. So I would run the gym, help him run the gym before school and then after school. And during the fall that I graduated, I became a substitute teacher. And so I would run the gym in the morning, I would go sub, and I would come back to the gym in the evening. And so, mind you, we're in a garage in a community in Folsom, not too far from the lake, and we've always had a great sense of community. We've always leaned into community, and that was just a natural fit for me. We left. He ended up selling his house in Folsom and moved to El Dorado Hills. He bought a house that backed up to an elementary school. Watch how this gets connected here. The house was built on a downhill, and so there was an unfinished basement. And so upon buying the house, upon the close of escrow of the house, got a contractor, finished the basement, put in a bathroom. And what was dirt and 2x4s one week, the next weekend was the gym. And so we moved all of our gym equipment and got more gym equipment and transitioned to the basement. We stayed there for about, probably 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer. The timelines blended on me. And we now have a commercial space. And so, upon transitioning from the basement, from the garage to the basement to the commercial space, I was brought on as a partner. And so, we got, our gym grew. We always stayed connected to our community. I eventually got my teaching credentials. So I was, and mind you, at one time we were opening the gym at 3:30 in the morning.
3:30 in the morning.
It was 3:30 in the morning to 7, and then 3:30 in the afternoon to 7:30 at night. And that was kind of how I cut my teeth as a coach. And during that time, we also would connect with different local football programs, and we've been at all kind of different schools in the area, and just kind of have spread. We've had people that I've been to weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs. We've definitely connected with different people throughout life. I was in education for 15 years. I felt like I wanted more for my family. I felt like my parents both had great jobs, had great incomes, and they had sacrificed a lot to do what they did. And I felt like their ceiling should be my floor. I wanted more. Education, I felt like wasn't providing that. And as I got deeper into education, I think empathy was my strength. My ability to connect with people was definitely a strength. Because when I saw some of the kids that was getting kicked out of class, cutting up, I saw my dad. Because that was my dad. This little black child that teachers can't control or can't get a hand or can't, mom is tripping. You really don't want his mom to come to school. Like, that was my dad. And so, this young girl that's a diamond in the rough, that's my mom.
Ooh.
And my auntie.
Ooh.
So when I taught with love. That's all I knew. I could connect with people, and I treated everybody like family, up to a certain extent. Yeah. But again, I just always led with love. But it came to a point, and it kind of happened during COVID. I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and in that book, Robert Kiyosaki, he talked about his experience with foreclosures and kind of how he was doing his thing in Arizona. And so that kind of like piqued my interest about real estate. And it just kind of got my wheels turning. And that happened at 25. I didn't get my license until I was 40. When I turned 40, as I was approaching 40, I'm 43 now, but as I was approaching 40, I felt like there was unfinished business. There was things I wanted to do, and I didn't feel like I had the time. My kids are, toddlers, and I just felt spread so thin.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like there was an opportunity to accomplish what I wanted to. I said what I said I wanted to accomplish in my 20s, and so I just, actually got reconnected with a former teammate from junior college and former roommate, and he had a career in real estate. And I just felt like that was confirmation for me. He kind of showed me the blueprint, what I needed to do it. And, the next year I got my license. So at one time I had the gym, was teaching and trying to practice real estate at the same time. It was a lot.
It was a lot, it seemed like it was towards what you wanted, huh?
It was.
You were probably working towards those 3 different goals as well. So the journey is always tough, right?
Absolutely.
But as you are even saying that right now, I know that, I am deducing that you must find some peace or creativity in the intrigue or game of the journey that you set upon, and, the path that it takes you to get to the place that feels like the initial endpoint that you imagined. Because I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can continue how you have continued or went from the small garage that Vince had to the second part of his garage, not even being a partner, and then to the bottom basement with dirt. Construct, right? Kind of there, and then it's built, and now you're a partner.
Yep.
I don't know if you can do that without having a little bit of giddiness, happiness about, this is a different path right now.
Yeah.
I'm on a different journey, but I'm still walking. You understand what I'm trying to say?
I didn't understand that at the time.
Yeah.
I always love when someone can have tunnel vision. And just, I didn't have that. I kind of always had my blinders on. They say comparison is the thief of joy, and I was definitely guilty of that.
Oh yeah.
Because I would compare what we had going on to what other people had going on, and what happened was, as we started to grow more professionally, and I got to see what other people were doing across the country.
That's a word.
And that was when the light bulb went off. That was when I got giddy. Because I'm looking at these other cats in different states, different parts of the country, and they ain't got what we got.
Yeah.
They're not connecting, and they're not impacting their community like we're impacting our community.
Right.
So that was when the light bulb went off for me, was when I got to see the other people. Because you don't know what you have. You don't know, how far your reach is, and you don't know what other people are doing. So it's like, it feels like we're doing the right thing, and these kids are doing their thing, and
doesn't look like the big ones, right?
Yeah.
But you had connectivity, like you said.
Yeah.
Seeing these kids, saw my dad, saw my mom.
Yep.
I was able to give these kids that I knew nothing about, like Vince, right?
Yeah.
Did for you a little bit, right?
Yep.
And give them just out of your heart.
Absolutely.
What you felt like they needed as far as progression for their own life, and they could take it or leave it.
Yep.
And so that in itself is a strength conditioning.
Yes.
Right? And so that's interesting you say that. You had to, what is it? Comparison is what?
The comparison is the thief of joy.
Comparison is a thief of joy. That's a jewel. You don't miss it.
So I felt like I was Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah.
I wanted to be
You were giving.
a coach that I didn't have. And I had no problem. It's so funny, I'm at a point now where I'm going through it with my own kids, where I've been through this before, but I've been through it with other people's kids. So it's different now that it's with my kids, because I know the process and you just gotta stick with it. but the emotional and all the there's other elements that
You
I
in it.
have to deal with.
You in it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's you
It's
again.
different.
Huh?
But you never know, being that Johnny Appleseed, you never know how those seeds will sprout.
Yeah.
But it's at a point now where I got kids that are married, kids that have come through our program that are now married, that have their own kids.
Wow.
A couple different gym kids that were kids. I'm talking about kids that are about my daughter's age when I met them. I've helped them buy houses now. You talk about coming full circle. Oh, I can't tell you the joy that brings me. But again, leading with love. And love. It's that's one of my favorite motivational speakers, Pastor Eric Thomas, Dr. Eric Thomas.
Oh, tough.
Man, love conquers all.
Tough, sir.
If you've
tough.
Ever seen him speak,
never had a chance.
I've seen him speak a couple times. He's got a talk, a sermonette that he did after the shooting. I think it was in Orlando or Las Vegas, but he did a talk on love, and he ended it by saying, "Love conquers all." I'll send you that link, but it was very powerful.
I'll post it on here too once I get it, y'all.
Please do send it to the people because it's very powerful. But just know, love conquers all, and that's what I've been leaning into. And I think, we all have a strength. I think everybody has a superpower in whatever you're trying to do, and I think mine is the ability to connect and to lead with love. I'm able to love on, almost anybody.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a lovey-dovey, baby kind of way. Like,
where'd you learn that from, though?
I think my mom.
Oh.
I definitely, I have elements of both of my parents.
Yeah.
Now my dad he is rock 'em, sock 'em. He's what you see is what you get. He's gonna tell you how he feels. And if you remember Kings of Comedy where Bernie Mac was talking to remember like the that's how the conversation goes. There's some deciphering and decoding that needs to go on. But
hats off. You know what I'm talking about? You already know.
Yeah, but mom, I definitely got that from mom. Mom has dealt with a lot of haters, in her career, and just people that didn't understand some of the moves that she was making, and
right.
Boom, love. Didn't matter, no matter what.
Yeah, I definitely find that to be a theme for you and what your story is, what you've bestowed upon us today, what you've shared with us today, which I am very appreciative of that, because that's why I was just sitting here just trying not to separate and think about, because I want to be present, but this is what we're doing, right? And I was like, what is it? It's your love. Yep. It's your love that perpetuates the faith and keeps the dream and the love and giddiness and just joy of dreaming alive, even when it's derailed a bit. And it allow you to say, it's just skewed. I can still get there. The path is just that way. It is the love. 1,000%, because you cannot pursue without that, the love, and then your education and knowingness, all right? Yep. Knowing that you went to Utah State, so you know that, hey, I know how to prepare.
Yep.
Knowingness,
yep.
Right? And then you got out again.
Yep.
Humboldt State.
Yep.
Bliss.
Yep.
And you doing that, you just recycle, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, wash, repeat, boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yep, absolutely.
You're doing that cycle, and it sounds like you teaching that cycle. I know you teach. Ain't no sound. I know. Yep. I know you teaching that, and I know that was taught to you.
Yep.
And so, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you coming here today to sit down with us and share with us a tidbit. If y'all did not catch it, he's in real estate. We're going to have another episode about that too. But I got to go get my babies, you know what I'm saying? And so I just wanted to just show the world to the love that you have, right?
Yeah.
And because I believe that's part of our peace.
Yep. That's
what perpetuates the peace. The love inside, forgiveness inside. You could have said, oh, foot, man, nah. Heck nah, man. You know what I'm saying? Nah. I ain't dealing with sports at all.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, why did I do this to myself again? You suck.
Yep.
No, you had to love yourself enough to say it's all right. Or when you even came back the first time, it's okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna get right back on it because I love what I even tried to do from the gate.
Yep.
Right? And so you had to love yourself enough to forgive yourself to get back on that horse.
Yep.
On that path, and that's real sound effect. You ain't no sound effect behind that. Get back on that fast feet, baby.
Yeah.
Get back on that horse, you know what I'm saying? And get to riding that love again.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I just really feel like that's so important because that then compasses your God state, where every bit of your cells in your body and your matter knows, and there's no dis-ease at all. That's when we're living God. That's when we're being that private. That's where the halo come from on all those pictures.
Yeah.
That's when it's covered upon us. And we're walking in that. Like you say, all gas, no brakes.
Yep.
Right? And so, that's your peace, which is your love, compassing your providence. And I know you won't forget it. Now they won't forget it. I ain't forgot it.
Yep.
Huh? You brought it back in me. I love you so much,
I love
huh?
you back, man. I love you back, man. Know that.
Let's go. All gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brake.
And yes, this is the first one. And yes, I know that was dope, right? That's from the PCP, the peace compassing the providence within us all. Red, black, Puerto Rican, and Haitian, don't matter. Short, tall, big or small, does not matter. Young or old. The peace, whatever that looks like. And Gabe sensed the love that he was ushered unto, bestowed upon him, that he keeps and he bestows upon him, everyone that's around him, to include his branch, his tree, right? The knowingness, and then the bliss. So from the Peace Compassing Providence podcast, hosted by your boy, Paris Marcel Coleman, I say be well and allow your peace to compass your providence, huh? Thank you.
Peace.